Um, Hi, my name is Connell, and if you're new to this channel, I am a model. And last month in October, I went to my first acting workshop, doing my first proper training, and I got a reel out of this weekend. And I just want to review it and kind of react to the things that happened while explaining the backstage situation. The first thing I want to show is the full reel because I feel like it will make more sense, and then you can have your own opinions and reactions, and then we can dive into it, into what happened before. So here it is.
Shouldn't that be Sir Nigel Fountain? I approve, very much. I'm just wondering where all the money's coming from. Nigel Fountain doesn't work for free, and no offence, you don't strike me as the bleeding heart type either. So my question still stands. What's this about?
Mr. Quirk's innocence is not the only unusual feature. He also turned himself in
Stevie, a walk-in.
3 days ago.
So Stevie handed himself in, confessed, but he's innocent.
I was getting to that.
Could you get there a bit quicker, Gina? Because I'm getting confused.
My client did turn himself in, and he did confess. But when I went to take more information, he insisted he made everything up.
I'm sure he did.
He confessed because he's terrified. So terrified, in fact, that he'd rather be in prison.
Terrified of what?
He won't tell me. He wants you to help him.
How?
He wants you to find someone for him.
Look, you're a smart woman. I can tell you're smart because you haven't drank the coffee. But I'm a high street solicitor. What you need is an inquiry agency. I can recommend one.
The man Mr. Quirk wants you to find is Samuel Francis Johnson. You know him, I believe? Right, so we learned some technical terms and I want to use them. We had different types of shots. What is it called? Okay, an establishing shot, which is the widest one. And during that shot, first of all, for each shot we had about 3 attempts, more or less. We were not that rushed with time, but still we couldn't stay there for hours on end because everybody had to do their thing before the end of the day, basically. As I said in my previous video, the weekend workshop worked in the sense that the Saturday in the morning we learned technical terms, which you can see here. Things such as beginners, POV, dirty POV, establishing shot, a master, a slate, a take, blah, blah, blah. Because when you are on set and they're telling you to do like dirty the POV or to cheat down or whatever, these are terms you're going to be using in a professional settings, and they wanted us to be familiar with them already so that they can direct us properly. And then in the afternoon, we were given scripts, which is where we had to learn it together and then try different versions. We're giving little sentences that we had to implement in our acting, because basically what I was playing was a lawyer with a contractor and something about my client. It's called SOS, for S for the stakes, O for objective, and S for stages again. So the stakes is, how is it important for me? How is it important for John or Harry, his character? And then my objective, like I have to pee, I want to flirt, I want to kill you. It had to be like an active thing, like I want you to something. It had to be very short so that it's like very easy to get through it in my head. Because if my objective, I want to kill you when you're gonna see something that is a bit like, it's a bit too complicated, and with everything else that you have to think about, it's not gonna work. And then status, which is based on your character's confidence when they're at home at rest and your confidence in the situation. If you change the stakes, if you change the confidence of the speaker, it completely changes the scene as well. So we played with the stakes, we played as well with the objective. For example, here we're giving at random. I was given, I want to flirt, and John, who was in front of me, was given, I want to have sex with you. So it was kind of funny. There was another one who was like, I want to go to the toilet, and he was like moving about and everything. And basically the idea was just, it is something that is in your head, but it has to affect your performance, but you can't make it too obvious. Because for example, if I want to kill you and I am a lawyer and I'm talking with the contractor, can you imagine how the scene is going to be completely different? ultimately, during this scene, we were not told what to do. We had to choose whatever we thought was going to be the best, according to what we prepared during that first day in the afternoon, or our homework to learn the lines properly. This is a script right here, which is interesting. I cannot show it to you because of copyright, but it just looks like a normal script. Like, if you can see through, I don't know. So right, there is so much that is going on because it's not just learning the lines and delivering them. Let's just go through that. Because there's all this gymnastic I just told you about that is happening in your head. And then there is all the technicalities that are happening when you are actually filming. Because right, I was comfortable, as I said in my previous video, with, you know, trying to implement this kind of objectives and stakes and so on. Not that I was any good at it, but I was okay, you know, it was not too bad. The issue is that, so when you see me in that position, know that I had a table here and a chair that was brought like that, so that I could face the camera, because basically the camera is going to be on focus in a very distinct position. I mean, how can I say that? Yeah, actually, I have to take this back because I have the terms and I have to use them. I have to get used to use them. So I think it's the depth of field and of focus, something like this. Anyway, let's say you're the camera. If I go forward or backwards, then I'm gonna be out of focus, depending on the lens. If I go on the sides, I can still be on focus, but then I might be too close to the edge, and it's not really good because sometimes the editor wants to bring the scene a little bit closer than the actual frame that was filmed with. Well, anyway, I'm right here, the table is here, and then everything that is on the table that which you can see cannot be touched. Usually, if you're a good actor, you will be able to touch certain things and put them back in place at the right place. But the challenge with this is that each take that you will be filming has to have the exact same movements. So for example here, you see the way I come from this and I put my hand down, I had to do the exact same thing. And when you see me from this dirty POV, which is when I'm kind of dirtying the frame with my back, I had to do it also slower, because if I'm too fast, it's distracting from the subject of this frame, which was Harry. I start here and I go there. Exact same position. Do you understand how it's not natural? Like, if I do this 10 times, you have to fake the natural. When you're on a dirty POV, my hand was on the way of the camera. So instead of doing this, I had to be like, even less natural, but at least this way you don't see my face straight on. Right, so also like in all of the takes, most of them, especially in the wide shots, I was very expressive and it was good so long as the camera was far enough. As soon as it came closer to my face, I had to be careful, because if I move here, I'm like, okay, and I'm here and I go there, it's okay. But if I'm that close to the camera and I start to do the same movements, suddenly it's a bit distracting, isn't it? Yeah, this is like, I felt really comfortable, especially when rehearsing, moving naturally like that. This is what you do in real life. Look at me with my hands, I'm expressive, isn't it? But you get to closer frame and you have to think about all these things which you do and either subdue or suppress them. So that was my challenge. And another of my challenge was my eyes. You see, look at me when I'm talking. My eyes go here, they go there, because I'm thinking and it goes around. And that's what I wanted to express in my acting, because I wanted to look natural. But sometimes what is natural on camera is distracting. Like, I know it's not the case for every single shot, or even if it's close, sometimes it can be intentional to be like that, you know? But in a very basic reel like this one, yeah, no, you can't do that. I wish I had an example to show you what I did before. But okay, let me do it. I would be like, Mr. Quark's innocence is not the only unusual feature. He also turned himself in. Oh, really? Is Stevie walking? When? 3 days ago. So Stevie turned himself in? Like, that's like all the guy typing. Stevie turned himself in? No. And he's innocent. How's it getting to that? You see? Like, I'm like, But I was told that when I do that, as I told you, it's too distracting when it's that close to my face. So I had instructions to only have 3 points where my eyes are allowed to roam. First one was straight in the eyes of the actor, especially when you're that close. It really affects the intensity, especially if you're in a position of power. And that was my status in my head, because I felt confident. The more you look into someone's eyes, and that's actually true in real life, the more your confidence shows. So in his eyes, number 1. And then say this is John. I was allowed to look right there. And then down here if I wanted to look down or if I wanted to think. So eyes right there and there. Because also sometimes, like the first time she told me I look all over the place, because it was so hard to stop, I started to just close my eyes. I was like, Mr. Quirk's innocence is not the only unusual feature, because that was the only way for me to stop roaming around. Now think about everything I've just told you, which is not everything yet, and trying to think about all of this while delivering a performance that is convincing, and if there are any emotions whatsoever, also exuding them. How difficult is this? It really made me appreciate the job of an actor so much more, because your body isn't comfortable, you are restricted in what you can actually do in terms of movements, even up to your eyes. And also you have to cheat down, that's a term I said before, which is if the camera is here, if you're completely sideways, first of all, with my hair you can't see my face. So okay, I would have to do that if I was wearing my hair like this, but then you also have to turn yourself a little bit so that you can see the other eye. So John is here, and I need to like look at him from the side eye, with a side eye, because otherwise I'm going to be completely profiled to you. It's not the case again with every scene, but it was something that can happen quite often, which you will never notice on camera. So I have to think about that too. I'm really uncomfortable. The table is right there to my rib. I can't move because of all the props. If I touch one prop, I need to remember to touch it again. And at some point, Harry, is saying, oh, I know you're a smart woman because you haven't touched the coffee or drank the coffee. I really wanted to be like, touching the coffee and be like, ugh, forget about this. But then you have to do it again every single time without forgetting, while you also remember to do the rest of the things, So that's another thing, right? Reaction. And that's something I actually got from an actor, because I was looking at videos. One actor, I don't remember who it was, said that reaction is a very great percentage of acting, because if you have your lines and you just deliver them, you can be missing so much in the way the other person is delivering their lines. For example, he says, shouldn't it be Sir Nigel Fountain? He's basically correcting me. Maybe I said, oh, it's just Nigel Fountain, but he wanted to put an emphasis on his status. How am I reacting to that correction? Usually when someone tells you, like, for example, in French, they love to do that. Like, if you go to someone you don't say hello, they will correct you and be like, hello, hello. And they will not let the conversation go forward unless you say hello back to them, like bonjour. And what is your reaction in this moment? I mean, you would actually react by saying hello, or if you continue forward, it means you don't understand. But if you want to add something to the scene and you want to show that you understand, you react to that little bit of information, And it's in these little things, in the reactions, that you will have wealth. So it's important to know your lines, but it's also important to, okay, I don't know, I feel like this video is a bit all over the place, but that's a bit like how it is in my head when I'm trying to remember to do everything and I'm trying to portray everything and be convincing. Talking about remembering, towards the end, I'm talking about Samuel Francis Johnson. The actual line is Samuel Francis Collins, and this is the one thing, like, I could not remember his name because there was so much happening in my head already. And each time I was saying a different name, Samuel Johnson, Samuel. Also, like, if you hear me, the man Mr. Quirk wants you to find is Samuel Francis Johnson. There's a little break between Francis and Johnson because that's the moment when I forgot it was Collins Johnson. It's just so funny. It didn't matter because that was the only time his name was referenced, and also this is a very short reel, but it was just so funny, like every time. And also John, the other actor, he kept messing up the name in the beginning. Sir Nigel Fountain, he could not remember it. And I was remembering very well because my stake was not there. My stake was in Samuel Francis Johnson. No, Collins, see? And it's just so funny. Sometimes it just happens that you have like complete blanks. And that's another thing. When it's happening, the ideal thing is to just continue. This is something I have to work on because, for example, if I was saying Mr. Quirk's innocence is no good, I will start over. But the coach was saying, honestly, when this happens, it's better that you just continue so that you keep the flow of your acting, and then at the end, you're just gonna have to do a do-over. I have a technical term for that. You're doing a pickup, which is when you start but not from the very beginning, or a do-over. I don't know if do-over is the term, but you start over basically. It's just so hard because you get self-conscious that you didn't deliver it well, and then your self-consciousness is going to really deter your performance with what is going after that. So you really have to work on not caring. Okay, I messed up. I can't control the past mistake I've just made. I can control however what's gonna happen later. So you have to work on this kind of indifference.
Terrified of what?
He won't tell me. When I say he won't tell me, my intention was to lie. Actually, I do know why, but I don't want to tell you. Like, I want to keep it a secret because I cannot have this position of power. I also thought about doing this little sentence, annoyed, and that's actually what the coach told me. But the way I say here is more like, he wants you to help him. I'm smug because I know that Samuel Francis Collins Johnson here, the one I did, Samuel Francis Johnson, the name is someone Harry might not be very fond of. He knows him. Like, I was hiding this fact from him, and then when I reveal Samuel Francis Johnson, I'm like, that hurts, right? That is the idea behind this.
What you need is an inquiry agency. I can recommend one.
I think I did okay, no? What you need is an inquiring agency. What are you talking about? It was not bad. I think it was okay. It goes back to reacting. If you just focus on saying your lines, you will miss the opportunity to add nuance to the whole story. It's not just two people talking. It's never robotic like this. There is so much happening behind the scenes, before the scenes, even outside of the whole movie that you have to portray right here. And that's how you tell the full story without saying it through words. Beautiful, beautiful.
I can tell you're smart because you haven't drank the coffee.
What did I do? Yeah, I didn't really react. I wanted to react, but too much happening in my head. Maybe I did react, but it was another take, and maybe this take was better according to the editor, so they kept this. When I keep looking at the white shot, I look so uncomfortable. And also you can see it is very odd. Maybe my discomfort is very visible because look at where my trousers are on my belly. Like, what is this? What is this? Why is it so high? I think it's because I was sat so hunched up against the table that it just came here. Oh, this is bad. We were told that the establishing shots, which is the widest shots of a scene, if you see it in the movie in the middle, if it's not in the beginning nor in the end, there's a chance that it might be because all of the other closer shots were not as good, and then they have to revert back to the master, which is the establishing shot. Am I saying these terms right? Master, long take with the whole scene if possible. In the wide shot generally, every slate after the master have to match. Okay, look at this. Maybe I'm teaching you some little terms. I'm such a novice, but if I can impart some knowledge into you right now, I'm happy. My client did turn himself in, and he did confess. But when I went to take more information, like, I'm looking smug, Is there a reason why I'm so smug? I feel like it would be better to be like, ugh, I don't know. See, these are the things. When you have to do your homework, preparing for the scene, these are all the things you have to think about and wonder if you prefer to do them this way. Then the director on set might tell you to do something completely different, so you can't be set in your own rehearsing version. It's a good idea to try different versions so that you can also be ready on set, or to just develop this skill to just be ready for anything. But yeah, it might also help you to think about these little things so that when you're actually doing it on set, you're quite intentional with, frankly, every single sentence you're about to say and reaction. But also sometimes your reaction is on the go because you don't really know what the other actor is going to do. So you have to have this openness, the ability to improvise. I feel like I've said quite enough. I will watch it again and see if I've missed something important.
Shouldn't that be Sir Nigel Fountain?
Shouldn't it be Sir? I do like that I did this little thing. Sir Nigel Fountain. He wants you to find someone, right? I always made the emphasis on someone, and she said break free from that, which I didn't know quite.
You're a smart woman. I can tell you're smart because you haven't drank the coffee.
It's not too bad. You're a smart woman. I know. Right? Didn't it translate this way? Is Samuel Francis Johnson. You know him, I believe. Right, and the last word is that when I say the name, it's supposed to trigger a reaction from Harry, and that's why I'm like, Samuel Francis Johnson. I'm satisfied that my intentions were met, basically. So, I believe I've gotten through everything, maybe. I'm really curious to hear as well about you and about, first of all, if you have any experience in acting, if you have any comments about the way I did, if the way I intended to deliver the lines was received the same way with you. I found it very interesting too for me to react because there's so much happening behind it, and when I came to act, when I came to this training ground, I just had no idea of all the work that is going on behind. In this case, a 1 minute something long scene, which is not even high stake, it's just like two people talking in an office. I'm looking forward to take another class. I'm hoping to take another one in New York because I want to see the difference in coaching. As I said in my last video, it's very expensive. This little workshop cost me £300, which might be $400, something like that, for 2 days. I think it's worth it for me, but when you think about it, it's expensive. This was just like one workshop, and there is still so much more to learn. How much money am I supposed to put into this to become comfortable? It's like, when I think about it, it's really like university in America, in a sense that you're gonna have to spend thousands, tens of thousands, if you want a proper education. It's not necessary, also like university in America, or anywhere really. It's just that in America it's just expensive. It's not necessary because you might be able to train otherwise, but you know, sometimes if you don't know any other actors, this is the only place where you can rehearse with people in front of you who are different than you, who don't have the same expectations as you. And one of my dreams is like the Lord of the Rings, so just putting it out there. You know, I've learned to do archery just because of the Lord of the Rings and World of Warcraft. But anyway, I think I have to stop talking because otherwise I'm gonna keep going. But thank you so much. Have a good day, good night, whatever. See you on the next video.